I am so excited to be here with you today. This is, by the time our audience sees this interview, we will have just experienced your play, which we have just captured with our process and will be edited. So we don't know what it will be, but we do know how excited we are to have it as part of this festival. So I just want to introduce everybody to Naomi Lorrain. Actually, and Naomi, you should let me know if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly or correctly, because I understand people mispronounce my name all the time, every day, all day. So I'm very sensitive to that. So if I'm gonna ask you to tell me how it's pronounced too.
You got it. That was right. It's Naomi Lorrain. Beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you. Good. I just want to make sure I honor you the proper way. And I would say the first time I saw you was as an actor in a play. So yeah. I when you submitted to this festival, and I looked at who you were, and I like, because it is a blind process. I think something for people to know is that we don't know who anyone is until we get the 10 semi finalists is the time when we then reveal the names even to our selves. And so I was like, wait a second, I know her, but I know her as an actor. I didn't know you were a parent. I didn't know you wrote plays. And so it was really exciting to get to know this whole other part of you, and then also to understand that this was part of your journey as a new parent. And so that meant even more to me, just because as an actor, I really enjoyed your work in What to Stand Up. Yeah. Because I've also known Eric Lockley for a very long time. We have produced together as part of Harlem 9. So we've been working together for a long time. And so that whole crew, Eric and Jonathan, two of the founders of the Movement Theater Company, are very close, dear friends and colleagues. So I had seen you, and so just to, again, as I said, to just experience you as a playwright and a parent and a new parent was like, this is amazing. So that's just something I want to throw out there for first, and sort of ask you what brought you to playwriting, and if you consider yourself an actor first or a playwright first, or are you somewhere in between?
Good question. Somewhere in between. I think that it's funny because my whole life I did both. Like in high school and in college, I was always acting in plays, but in college I was pre-med. Like it was always kind of like a side thing, like a passion that I had and a talent perhaps, but I didn't really make it my main thing until grad school. Like after like midway through college, I was like, okay, I want to be an actor. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go to grad school. And then getting my MFA in acting, I was like, okay, I'm an actor. But third year of our MFA program, you get there's this festival called Free Play, and you can do whatever you want. And I was like, oh, I'm going to write a play. Like it wasn't even a question. And then I like went back to my journals and diaries. I was like, oh, I've been writing plays for a really long time. I just never called myself a playwright until that kind of first play in grad school. And then a couple of commissions after that, and like you know, doing these adaptation of Greek plays in Italy with NYU. Then I was like, oh, definitely a playwright. And I think I'm both. I just feel like I had the title of actor first, and now I have them equally. I'm an actor and a playwright. And the writing has been such a godsend because as an actor, you don't really, you know, you're putting yourself out there, you don't get to choose your parts, but I have so much to say. So I think the playwriting, you know, it's 50-50 or 60-40 for the playwriting to acting ratio, just because I have so much agency in a different way. You know, I'm a vessel as an actor, and I love being that vessel for other people's work and other people's storytelling. And deep down inside, I have a lot to say and a lot of stories to tell based on my life experience. So they're both. They're somewhere in the middle, you know, somewhere in between, as you said.
Yeah, in between. Yeah. I love that. And I think just, you know, as you said, you have a lot to share and a lot to say. And I'm curious in terms of this story, if you can share a little bit about where the story of Theresa comes from. You know, what were some things that were going on? Do you have, you know, journals of when you kind of first started, or as you're thinking about the future of your child's growth, and just, you know, share with us sort of where this story Theresa is from?
Yeah, I hear you. So when we found out we were pregnant, I remember being like, you know, this is great. I felt a number of emotions, but mainly this is great. What a wonderful life experience.
Yes,
and I
all
knew
those emotions,
real emotions. And I was like, as the pregnancy was going on, like months and months in, I kept telling my partner, I was like, I gotta write a play about this. I gotta write a play. And I had this idea for this play, but it was just like an outline in my head, like an idea. And then I saw this, you know, this opportunity that you have given all these Black parents and caregivers. And I thank you for it. I really do, because it was perfect timing. My kid was maybe 2 months when I wrote Theresa. So like really new parent, but it really came from all the stuff that happened during pregnancy. You know, like everyone kind of trying to tell you things, even people who aren't pregnant or have never been pregnant telling you things. And so I feel like the play kind of came from, like, in my imagination, this woman who is like going to be an expert, though they don't have the traditional parenting experience. And so Theresa came about. And I have to tell you, I'm also Theresa and Nia. So like, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I'm not trying to come at people. You know, the new age parenting, I am of that ilk myself. But it just came from wanting to talk about my experience kind of as pregnancy, but put it into like being a mom already and getting ready to bring forth this child into the world, and knowing that when you partner with someone and when you marry someone, like it's the families also marrying and the families also, like the village is forming. And my partner and I had a lot of discussions about how we want to raise our kid. And so with Theresa, I kind of got to explore all those differences between maybe like what my partner and I would do versus what our parents did. Not saying anything is wrong or right. It's just different. It's just different. So it was an exploration of that, you know?
Yes. And as we think about that exploration, and we think about what we have seen in the piece, what are some things that your parents or grandparents or the caregivers that you had, what are some things that they did that stand out to you and that were valuable for you to pass along as you embarked on your own journey as a parent?
That's a great question. I love that question. I have some great parents and people in my life. So I think the first would be well-roundedness. Like, my mom is the best. I really want to incorporate a lot of how she parented me. And I was a well-rounded kid because she was also well-rounded. I'm talking sports, arts, academics, and spirituality. Like, she just exposed me to so many things, and I really appreciate that. And I want to do that for my kid. She fostered my curiosity in a beautiful way. And she also gave me a lot of freedom. And I was raised as an only child. I have brothers and sisters on my father's side, but with my mom, I was her only. And she trusted me and gave me a lot of freedom when she felt it was appropriate. And when I wanted more freedom, quote unquote, too soon, she was like, "You're a child. Like, you don't know what to do. I do have to step in and I have to guide you when it comes to kind of bigger decisions." She always kind of instilled in me honesty and open conversation. And I'm talking like sex, love. Like, when I was ready to embark upon certain mature things in my life, I could literally tell my mom, "This is what I want to do. This is who I want to do it with. What do I need to do to be safe? What do you feel about that?" Like, she has been a confidant and a friend for so long. And she's not like, "I'm your little friend." Like, she's like, "I'm not one of your little friends. Like, you're not going." Like, but when it comes to kind of big issues in life, she was like, "You should come to me because I am an adult and I do know." Like, when you're having a question about biology or whatever, she's like, "I actually do know. You might talk to your friends and get misinformation and it's just not worth it." She's like, "Just talk to me." And it worked, because to this day, I really run quite a bit by her and talk to her about pretty much everything, because even if we disagree, there's respect. There's so much respect there. And I really want to incorporate that into my parenting.
I love that. And I think something that really stands out to me from what you said is that respect of the child, and respecting that they, as a child, that you were a person who was, curious but still had to learn, and so you both needed to have that a path to learn, and also a person to say, no, you're still a child, and I think there's also beauty in, for Black children, and I think for Black girls in particular, being able to stay children, because so often people, over over sexualize our young Black girls before they're even of age. And so to have a person say, no, you're still a child, I'm going to respect you and enough to let you be both a child and then grow at your own pace, is really beautiful, and has turned you into this person that we see here, who is able to balance both being an actor and a playwright. And I feel like just from what you're saying has really helped you kind of find that balance in between both, and help you be able to do both without thinking, "Oh, I gotta fit into this box," and just learning more about you. It's like, yeah, you are that well-rounded human and artist, which is really a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And so I'm also curious, what are some things that you feel are important to incorporate as you bring up your child, that might be different from your upbringing, or maybe you'll say, nope, it was, I don't have anything else to say. that was it, right? That was
No, there's differences, you know. There are definitely differences. Because, you know, also we're bringing up kids in a different time, you know, like if you're an 80s, 90s baby, that's very different from a 2020 pandemic baby.
Let me tell you.
You know, yes. I'm learning as I'm going. And I think some differences would be not that my mom didn't teach me financial literacy. I just feel like I got it. I want more of it. Like, I think as a parent, you can actually bestow upon your child like real financial literacy. And to my mother's credit, when I was young, I had an allowance. I kind of budgeted. She gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad to read. Like, she was on it. And I just want to enhance that for my kids, you know, and really have them understand that even though my partner and I are like very like, oh, capitalism, we're artists, you know, that you have to have money to survive in this world, and that your quality of life, like you're gonna have to make decisions. Like my partner and I always joke that like for everything there is a cost. So like you can make like a lot of money, but you might not be fulfilled, or you might be really fulfilled and not have a lot of money. But what I want our kid to know is that there's balance, you know, and that you hopefully will have agency in that, the life that you want to lead. So financial literacy, and I think I was raised Christian and, you know, pretty strictly so. And I think for my child or my children, you know, see what happens. I would want more options spiritually, or like more spiritual manifestations, like yoga practice and therapy practice in addition to prayer. I want them to know about different religions, and what they pick is what they pick, what they feel called to. Like I want to try to respect. Yeah, I just want them to have a little bit more freedom in that regard, so that if they do end up believing what I believe, it's because they genuinely believe it and they've studied things that are different from it and have made a decision that this is what I believe in my heart and soul. And this is who I, you know, acknowledge and practice, you know, that type of thing. And then the last one, there were three I'm thinking of. The last one, I don't know, like corporal punishment. I didn't really, you know how in the Black community, people talking, they're like, you know, like beat the Black off. Like it's just this thing. And I have a lot of feelings about that. But as far as this conversation and my kid, I don't know what we're gonna do. I think that I'll have to see what my child needs. I don't feel like I'm gonna be heavy with the corporal punishment. I also did receive a lot of corporal punishment. I did receive a little now, like I'm not, you know, I'm Black and from the South. So guess what you may, but I don't know what my child will need, but I want to try to leave room for different options like meditation, or like giving them space, or counting, or not the counting that's going to be in Theresa or that you just saw in Theresa. Yes, I'm not that person counting to 20, but I do feel like I'm just interested in exploring other options. So if we do end up, you know, doing a little corporal punishment, before we get there, are there other options? I don't feel particularly traumatized by my childhood as far as like how discipline was doled out, but I don't know, you know, I don't know what he'll need.
No, I understand all of that. And I so thinking about the character in the play, little Jaden is just so loved by so many people, right? We have the grandparents, Nania and Theresa, Jaden's dad, you know, Jamal. So can you tell us a little bit about how important family structure is? You know, I mean, you are showcasing, and I know that one of the things that I was really drawn to in this play is that this is not a situation that we often see with Black families, right? Like this is something, yes, you always see the white parents and the, you know, the more like hippie white parents, and then the more like conservative, you know, grandparents and all of that. Like that's something we've seen in films for years. That's not new, but I have not seen it too much, aside from maybe in Blackish, right? That's the only thing that kind of comes to mind a little bit. But just to see it in a more consistent, full way right here, just was really amazing, and something that really meant a lot. And so I just thinking about the structure. So I'd love to just hear from you a little bit about how important the family structure is for you, and how important it was to put that in this story.
You know, my husband, my partner, always talks about how I write about family, and he was like, "You're kind of obsessed with it," and I was like, "Am I?" Because like I said, I was raised kind of as a single, by a single mom, as an only child, so it was really just the two of us, and I guess I do have some, like, not obsession, but like love of family. Even though I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would get married. I didn't think I would have kids this soon. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. I just wanted to be an artist and, you know, go to Paris and, you know, in LA and New York, just live this life. But I guess the family to me, I guess is everything. And I just didn't realize it. Like, especially after having my child, it's really, I want to be with my husband and my son, like on a Saturday night. And then maybe the next Saturday night, I want to go out with my friends. But I do love being with them. And it's almost like I get it in a different way, like you know, what people want. And it's something I didn't necessarily want or was looking for, but I think the universe saw that I needed it and my heart needed that. And so when it comes to family, I really think about the importance of the village. And when I say the village, and that's why Theresa, that's why this writing exists, because, you know, in our community, you call aunt so-and-so, uncle so-and-so, and y'all aren't even blood. And now that my son is in the world, his community is so large because my husband and I went to college together. So we have all our college friends, and we both went to grad school. Like, it just feels like there's so many people loving on him. And their family. Like I really emphasize family that's not just blood, because for me, in my upbringing, like I said, it was my mom and I, and my aunt and things like that. But my godmother was huge in my life when I was little, you know? And I had best friends whose parents were like my parents. Like, I'll take my son home soon, and there are like 3 sets of grandparents that are just my best friend's parents that I have to share him with. And it's a pleasure to share him with. My mom told me something long ago that I now really understand. And she was like, you love people who love your child. Like, you really, like, when she met my partner and saw how much he cared for me, she was like, I love him because he loves you. And then she kind of got to know him for his own qualities and his own individuality. But at the beginning, it was just like association. And so the village is so important to me. And I was such a big babysitter before I had my kid. I just love babies and took it so seriously. And I think you should. And I was like, I just want to be a positive force in this child's life. And I want them to feel safe and creative around me. Like, I just want them to feel free. And I think that a village can really provide that, because there are things that people can talk to their parents about, but there are also things they talk to auntie about. And I wasn't close to my grandparents. My mother had me later in life, and so my grandparents were no longer here. Well, they were, but they were sickly, and I didn't have that relationship that's in the books or in the movies. But my partner did, and I got to see it. And right now, my son has all 4 of his grandparents, and then those extended, my mom and my dad, and my partner's mom and dad. And it's just beautiful. And I'm realizing that I wanted to make sure he has even everything I didn't have, like this, what a village, what a family, you know?
Yeah.
For me, it was like the two of us. And now for him, it's like the 200 of us,
The 200,
you know?
I love that.
So it's everything. It's so beautiful.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And, you know, in the story, there's this tension, right, between the grandparents and Theresa, but it's broken by humor. And so I love to hear from you, and that's not something I think about even in my own plays. I think about how things get really serious, and I'm like, but almost all my plays have like a lot of humorous moments, or like they're just humorous, but they're also a little sad, right? And so just thinking about you know, like the importance for you of humor in telling this particular story.
I hear you. Humor is everything to me. My love language is comedy.
Love that. I love that.
It's true. Like there's this great quote by Julia Louis-Dreyfus that's like, comedy is medicinal because it's like this sugar-coated or candy-coated medicine that society needs. And I love that because I truly believe that. Because once someone's laughing, their heart is open, their body's open, and their mind is open in a different way. And then you slip some real stuff in there and they are like, I just like a ha 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 to a That is the goal for all of my work, for my audiences to go from a ha 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 to a
Ha ha ha.
Just ha ha Good point. Like interesting. Because as a playwright, I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do. I just want to not only reflect our culture and like our society, but also poke and ask questions. Like you were saying before, how we don't see Black families in this light, kind of norm. Like I like to normalize things. Like, why don't we see this?
Right.
Like, people can be queer, people can be in a heterosexual relationship, whatever. They can be all be raising the child in the village, and it doesn't have to be a problem. Like, what about that?
Right.
And so with humor, I just think that it really provides medicine, and that it just makes you think, because your guard is down, because you're laughing. And to laugh, you just have to be open. The motion itself, your mouth is open. Sometimes your head is back if it's a guffaw, you know, if you're like, and then something real and something deep can seep in and hopefully touch you in your heart and just make you think a little bit about a different way of being.
Love that. Yeah. And I certainly hope that as people experience this play that there is a lot of that they kind of, you know, go through and take with them. And as we close, just thinking about how we got here, you know, to this moment, and we touched a little bit on it, but really, what about this festival stuck out to you, and why do you need to tell this story now?
Well, first of all, the festival gave me an outlet and an opportunity to express something that had been on my heart before I even knew the festival existed. So the kismet of that, I'm eternally grateful for. I also feel like on my Zooms, talking with my director, talking with my dramaturg, I could have my kid, I could have my son. I was breastfeeding my son. It felt normal. I didn't feel like I had to hide him. And it just felt like this is the way it could be. You know, I'm at the beginning of this motherhood parenting journey. And so far it's been so loving, but probably because of this festival as well. Like I did a festival in at South Coast Rep, and they were super accommodating as well. I was so stunned. And I feel like here, I don't know, it just feels like home. Also, the resources, like the dramaturg, Jordan has been amazing. The director, like, you're making it easier for me to tell this story. And I really appreciate that, because I hope that it goes from the ha 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 to the he. And then like that will affect society and make the world a better place.
Okay.
And, you know, with the story, the telling of this story now, it's because I think we really need it now. Like, it's twofold. It's public and it's private. So for me, I just became a new mom, as you know, and I had all this stuff to express, even making fun of myself, the Theresa Nia inside of me. But then publicly, the way families are looking is different. And like, I think there's more of like acceptance of that now. And so I want to try to help normalize that, because I feel like change is really scary for people. Even though there have been non-binary people and like, you know, queer, all of this in families since before time, I feel like now there's more acknowledgement, more acceptance. And I like to include that into my work because I feel that way. You know, I identify as, you know, being attracted to male-bodied individual and female-bodied individuals. And so most of my characters are queer, but I'm in a heterosexual marriage, right? But that can exist. That literally can exist. And
Right.
I think it's important to talk about that everyone can be on the same accord to love this spirit, this young child, and to help foster their growth. But you and your festival, the Black Motherhood and Parenting Festival, has made this possible. And I'm so grateful, because I'm telling you, that timing was crazy. I was like, I'm gonna write this play like on my own. And then it came up and I had a deadline. So I don't know about other playwrights, but for me, having structure and having a deadline and then having a team, it's literally about support. It's just, you know, you provided such support and encouragement. And I just recommended another friend of mine who is a father and an actor and a writer too. And I was like, I think you should do it. I think you should just apply and, you know, write something out, because it'll get you started. Whether you make it to finalist or not, this is a great vessel for those people's stories to be told, and mine included. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I mean, that means a lot to hear from people, because I mean, this festival was created because I have not been a parent who has felt as if she had support. And while I love being a producer, that's not what I went to school for. And while yes, that is what pays the bills, and I have spent most of my career at this point making space for other people to tell their stories. I also, there's been such a gap in the sort of resources I've been able to, you know, get for myself as I have juggled caregiving and being a playwright and being a producer, and trying to figure out which one is it today. And so it's incredibly meaningful to hear from other people how like these small things of the support, and we are so thrilled that we have a dramaturg. It was just something Amber and I, you know, talked about this year, and we sort of really hoping, and just it was a dream to be able to have some extra support, and that period where in between being accepted and having the rehearsals, you get some support to go into to actually work on the process, because the process of development is very important to me, and this festival showcases pieces that are in development, because I want you to be able to either partner with one of the partner theaters or for another person to say, hey, I love that piece. Maybe it can be more, right? Like, I feel like these pieces, this is sort of the first step for all of these pieces to grow, right? This shouldn't be like the end of them. And so it is really important to sort of hear and to know that, yeah, this festival is kind of showcasing one angle of the piece, but you will go off and either expand it, or people will say, let's take that and make it something else, right? Which I think is really amazing. So that's the hope and the dream, and it just feels like every year it gets better, and we're only in year 2, but we have many more years to go. So
many more.
So happy that you are a part of this, Naomi, and
Thank
cannot wait for it to be out there and for everyone to experience it. And thank you for having this little talk with me today. Whenever you get to see it. Since it's online, we kind of exist in like, there's really no time. We just exist.
When they see it, when they see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a lovely night.